guys, it's Rose. Welcome back to Journals in Time and welcome if you're new. So today's video is for the Rach and Bella Crafts collaboration, the Junk Journal Tips, Tricks, Hacks 23 collaboration. It's a bit of a mouthful. So the hashtag for that is hashtag JJ Tips, Tricks, Hacks 23. So if you have missed any of the videos all through the collaboration, it's been running the whole month of February. There have been some amazing videos so far. So if you have missed anything, just use the hashtag and you should be able to find it. Now I do know that Rachel will have a playlist over on her channel, Rach and Bella Crafts, as well. So you can just pop over to their channel and check out the playlist. Okay, so we are talking about Lost Mojo today. What to do when you just don't feel inspired, you don't have the energy, you just don't know what to do, you might feel overwhelmed. Well, I'm here to give you 20 ways to help get past that. So like I said, there are many reasons for loss of mojo. Okay, we have overwhelm, physical ailments. You might be physically sick, or you might have sprained a hand, or you might just, you know, feel generally grotty. You might be stressed. It might be lack of confidence. It could be burnout. It could be something like depression, or it could be boredom. So lots and lots of reasons for it, and lots and lots of ways to get past it. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to say to you is make sure you are taking care of yourself. If you're not taking care of yourself, your creativity can't bubble up. Your well is going to be empty. Okay, so make sure you're taking care of yourself. Another thing I want to say before we start with the list is be gentle with yourself. Don't beat yourself up over the fact that you don't feel like crafting. Don't give yourself a hard time. Allow it to be what it is. I'm not saying do nothing about it. I'm just saying to allow that lack of mojo to be there, and don't beat yourself up. Don't give yourself a hard time. And the third thing I would like to say before we start the list is take a moment to, when you're feeling like that, take a moment to just sit with yourself and ask yourself, what is it you need in that moment in time to feel better? It may not be anything to do with crafting. It may be, oh, I just need a cup of tea and half an hour's peace. Or, oh, I really want to get out for a walk. Or, I so need to talk to a friend. Something like that. Just take a moment, close your eyes, and really try to focus on what is it you need in that moment in time. Okay, now those three things, they all help with general well-being anyway, but our general well-being really feeds into our creativity and our mojo. So they are very important. Okay, so first things first. Now I am going to, obviously, if you've been watching it already, I'm going to let the video run on speed while I'm talking to you about these things, and you can kind of see all the different things that I'm doing. I will come to that at the end of the video, and I will show you what I have been doing and explain why and all the rest of that. Okay, so first things first, go for a walk. Now, yes, it's cliche, and there will be a couple of cliches in here, but these things are cliche for a reason. Now, you might say to yourself, well, how will a walk help my creativity? How will a walk? It's not about looking at nature or anything like that. There is a physical reason behind this, and this is something I actually only discovered recently. I always obviously knew that walking was good for you and all the rest of it, but recently I discovered that walking is actually essential for brain health, because movement through space and engaging your muscles in that particular way actually helps the neurons in your brain to fire, and it helps you to build new neural networks and things. So extremely important, and very helpful if you are feeling lack of mojo. An awful lot of creative people say that they get their best ideas when they are walking, and there's a physical reason for that, and now you know. So go for a walk, guys. Nice sunny day or brisk breezy morning, even in the rain. I love walking in the rain sometimes. Just get out 20 minutes, a brisk walk, not you know, overly taxing, but not a slouchy kind of stroll either. A nice brisk walk. Okay, so that's number one. Okay, so number two, do something completely different. So by that I mean go off, do something recreational that has nothing to do with crafting or being creative or anything like that. Go to the beach, play ping pong, do whatever you like, just nothing at all to do with crafting. And what that does, it helps, again, fill up your cup. It gives your mind a rest from constantly thinking about crafting and what to do, and you know, it gives yourself a little break and you can come back to it refreshed. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3, change your crafting environment. Do you normally sit when you're crafting? Try standing up. Do you normally craft in silence? Try putting on some music. Maybe take some fussy cutting out into the garden and do it out there. Just change it up a little. Maybe put together a little crafting travel bag and head off somewhere in your local town, somewhere scenic or something like that. Bring something that you can do outside. Something like that can sometimes just change how your brain thinks, and it could spark new ideas, things like that. Just worth a try. Okay, so the next thing is number 4, read a book. Now, I put this one in here because I quite often get inspiration from books. One of my very first vintage junk journal that I ever made was inspired by a character from a book. So read a book, see if there's a character in there that you might be able to base a journal around, or just even, you know, think, what would this person have in a journal? Because sometimes if you don't have a person in mind, it can be really hard to be inspired. It's like you're doing the same thing over and over again. But if you have a person in mind, it can get really fun and creative. Okay, so the next thing, number 5, watch a movie or TV show. Now, this kind of has a two-pronged effect for me. Firstly, again, you have the similar thing like you do with the reading the book. You might see a character that you could base a journal around, or that might inspire an idea or just spark something in you. The other thing is, if you watch movies or TV shows from a certain era, or in a certain genre, like we say fantasy, or from Victorian era, so there'd be period pieces. Like I watched Enola Holmes movies only recently, and I'm a huge Sherlock Holmes fan. I haven't done a Sherlock Holmes journal yet. it's in the offing, but there are so many people doing them, and I want to kind of come to it with a fresh mind. I don't want to have the ideas from all the other people doing them in my head when I start it. But yeah, it really kind of, watching that show, those movies, there's 2 of them, really kind of got me wanting to make a Sherlock journal. So, you know, things like that can often kind of get your creative juices flowing. Usually it's something around something that you love. So if you like fantasy, maybe watch The Lord of the Rings. If you like vampires, watch Vampire Diaries or something along those lines. Pirates, I absolutely love pirates. Again, same story as with Sherlock Holmes. Haven't made the journal yet, but it's there and it will come out at some point. So, you know, watch Pirates of the Caribbean, or there's a brilliant TV show called Black Sails. Watch that. Absolutely fantastic. Actually, Black Sails, it's a very Caribbean vibe as well. So, you know, lots of things can come from that particular one. I loved that show. Okay, so number 6, do a culture activity. Now, again, this kind of has a two-pronged meaning. Now, to say do a culture activity, that's just how my brain says it to me, okay? There's probably a better way to say that. So the two-pronged approach. Culture can either mean arts, music, things like that, theatre, that kind of stuff. Or it could mean a culture of a different country, like India, for instance, is one that really springs to mind. It's all very, very colourful. Even their religion, Hinduism, is extremely colourful and bright, and it always kind of says boho to me, boho journals to me. That may be just me, I don't know. But yes, so do a culture activity. So go to a museum, research clothing in India, things like that. Go see a play in the theatre, see a band, listen to some classical music, things like that. Okay, so number 7, research time periods. So a lot of us make vintage style junk journals. Now, I'm not very pedantic about the time periods. There could be 200 years of a difference between pieces in my journal, and I wouldn't even know it half the time. Sometimes I do, and it doesn't bother me. But it can be helpful to actually go back and see what life was really like in those times. So you would kind of look at Elizabethan times, Victorian, Edwardian, colonial times. So yeah, look up time periods. It could give you a completely refreshed view on what you do. It could also give you fantastic ideas looking at what actually life was like in those times. Okay, so number 8, do something kind of related to junk journaling, but not necessarily related. So things like colour in a colouring book, do some cross stitch, jelly print on a jelly plate, painting, anything like that that is not necessarily working with paper and putting a junk journal together, but could possibly be used in a junk journal. Kind of, they're adjacent to junk journaling, if that makes sense. So yeah, just to kind of get your head away from the whole paper thing and the pressure and all the rest of that, just do something gentle and something slightly related that could possibly be useful for your junk journal journey. Okay, so number 9, do a completely different craft. It might be something new or something that you have kind of dabbled in before. So things like knitting, sewing, do some art, do some origami, quilling, make some cards instead of a journal. Things like that. Upcycle furniture. It's still kind of crafty and creative, completely unrelated to junk journaling, but you know, something along those lines. Just try something slightly different. You don't have to go full hog 100% into something different. Just dabble a little bit, just again to give your mind a break from the junk journaling thing. Okay, so number 10, take part in a challenge. So often we find that we just don't know what direction to take, or there are too many directions to take. Just pick a challenge. There's always people out there having challenges. Pick a challenge and just do that for a while. You don't have to finish the challenge, you don't have to complete it. Just leave somebody else give you direction as to what to do for a little while. And that can jumpstart your creativity in ways, again, that you wouldn't expect. Like I said, let somebody else give you direction. Gives your mind a little rest, a little break. You're still doing something, even if you're not doing all the 100 unfinished projects that are in your craft room. Doesn't matter. Just, you'll be doing something, and it can be very, very inspiring, and especially when you're seeing what other people are doing in that challenge as well. So on that note, actually, just to say, Rachel and Bella Crafts Junk Journal Trading Post, their Facebook group, run challenges every single month, and there's usually, well, I say every single month, not on the months when there's a collaboration, obviously. That would be way too much. Poor Rachel, she'd be run off her feet. But yes, there's a lot of challenges over there throughout the months, so hop on over there if you're not in there already, and find yourself a challenge to do. Okay, so number 11 is to challenge yourself. Okay, so that could take a lot of different forms, and when I say this one, it could be challenging yourself outside of junk journaling in some way, but I'm specifically talking about challenging yourself in your craft room. Okay, so you might give yourself 5 items to use to make one piece. You might restrict yourself to a colour palette. You might decide not to use digitals in your junk journal this time. You might decide you're going to make a mixed media junk journal when you kind of are a little bit scared of it. Things like that. Or it could be to use a particular tool or supply maybe that you have in your craft room and you haven't ever used it, or maybe you only use it once or twice, or maybe it's something you want to get used up and you're challenging yourself to get it used. So find something to challenge yourself with. Okay. Number 12. Now, number 12 is probably my favourite out of all of these, and it is just play with your stuff, play with your paper, play with your supplies, play with everything in your craft room. Just sit down, pick something out of a pot and start playing with no end in mind, with no finished product in mind. Just see what happens. Throughout the video that you're watching while I'm talking to you, I'm doing an awful lot of that, and it is definitely my happiest kind of crafting, when I'm just playing like that. So yeah, just sit and have a little play. Do something whimsical to kind of get that play feeling, and just take it from there. Okay, so number 13, is to organize your craft room. Now, again, this is a cliche, but it is again cliche for a reason. So organizing your stuff not only makes it easier for you to craft, it can take away a lot of overwhelm as well, because I know a lot of us have messy craft rooms. Mine was very overwhelming at the beginning of last year. I finally got it sorted and I am much happier in here now. But in the course of organising it, I was finding things that I completely forgotten that I had, things that I hadn't used for a while because they weren't accessible. So there are lots of kind of ways for organising your craft room to jumpstart your mojo. And if it is very, very overwhelming, my advice is just pick one area, work on it for half an hour before you craft, and then craft your heart out. That may not work like that for what we're talking about today, but in general, if it's not that your mojo is gone, if it's just that you're overwhelmed by your craft room, that can work really well. That is how I did it, and I did get there. It took a bit longer than if I went full hog at it for a few days, but I did get there in the end, and I was much happier doing it. Okay, so number 14, speedcraft. Okay, so with this one, I was thinking, I take a long time to make journals because I overthink everything, absolutely everything. I overthink the placement of a stamp, I overthink the placement of a label, even ink, where I put the ink, I overthink everything. I overthink sizes of things. So I was thinking that if I could just put together a journal, a one signature journal, really, really quickly, not thinking about it too much. I was thinking about how I would do it, and I would just have a box of possibly, okay, let's say floral, just floral items, not thinking about too much, does this flower go with that flower, da, 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 and just get a journal done. And I think it would actually be possible to do it within a couple of hours. And I may challenge myself, to do that someday. So what I feel that would do, I haven't actually tried that with a journal, but I will tell you about something else in a moment. What I was thinking about that was the end result. I know it's something that I would most likely be pleased with, okay? So the end result would then feed the information to my brain that I don't need to overthink everything. And would kind of get me past that type of overwhelm, I think. It's definitely a kind of stress where I feel I'm not crafting fast enough, and I can get very bogged down in it and lose my mojo completely over it. So speed crafting can help with that. The other thing that I was talking about a second ago, you may or may not have heard of this. There's a lady called Shannon Green. She's on YouTube. She is fantastic. She does junk journal in true junk journal style, using junk. I think she kind of started using printables and things like that in recent years. But years and years ago, when I first started junk journaling, she had a video out called Journaling by Fives. And I had so much fun doing that. It was absolutely crazy amazing, and I still love the pieces that I got from it. So maybe give that a try and just see what you think. It certainly gets your creativity going, let me tell you. And in a very fun way as well. Okay, so number 16 is mass makes. Okay, so when I say mass makes, I am talking about making base pieces. No decorating, just making the base pieces. It's something that won't tax your brain too much. You're not thinking about it. You're still doing something creative and crafty, but there is no pressure around it. So I would pick something simple to mass make. Maybe mass make pockets. Just the bare bones of the pocket. Maybe make them out of book page. Don't even think about the kind of paper to use. Just use book page. Mass make a load of pockets. And from there, your brain will naturally start churning ideas at you. They may be quiet, small whispers of ideas for a little while, and then they start jumping at you. Bam, 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 and you're off again. Okay, so mass making is great for that. Just keep it simple for yourself. Okay, so number 17, scrap makes. Okay, so there are so many videos on YouTube about using up scraps, okay? And what I find using my scraps does for me, because they're scrappy bits, I find there's a freedom that I don't normally have. I also find that because the scraps come from so many different projects, I end up putting things together that I wouldn't have thought of to put together before. And if you're doing the right scrap project, so let's say again we want to keep this simple so that we're not overtaxing ourselves when we're not feeling the best in the first place. So things like just masterboarding, just slapping paper down onto paper and just getting rid of the bin of scraps that you have, just put them down hodgepodge. Things like that. Absolutely amazing start to your creativity, because again your brain starts churning up ideas as you're doing it. As you're feeling the paper and putting it down and you're seeing the different colours and tones and all the rest of that, things start coming to mind for you. Okay, so again, really, really great way to get your mojo going. Another kind of scrap make that you could do is clusters. Really, really great. And I kind of started making longer clusters to go down the side of a page or across the top of the page as well, not just the tiny ones that we all like to make. So that's another thing that you can do with your scrap makes, is vary the sizes of things as well. And because they're only scraps, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and that's fine. Okay, so number 18, do some prep work for your journals. So that could be fussy cutting. If you have a lot of images printed out or just images from books that need fussy cutting, just fussy cut them. Just, you're still being productive again, but you're not overthinking. You're not thinking, oh, what will I put on this page and what will I, you know, your brain is very relaxed when you're just doing it, because all you have to do is cut around the image. Okay, but same thing, as you're doing that, your hands are moving and you're taking in the image, and your brain will again start turning ideas at you. Okay, so another example of prep work there would be maybe to cut words out of a book. That's something that I like to do when I'm not feeling great. I'll take a book out to the couch and I'll just snip out words and phrases from it. And I really need to get organising those. I have quite a few of them at the moment. You could tea dye your papers, get a whole batch of them done, have enough done for the year, if that's what you need to do. And as you're tea dyeing that many papers, you will start to have ideas about other ways to dye your papers, and other ideas that you had seen and meant to try and didn't try, and maybe you'll try them now, and there you go, your mojo is going. Okay, so number 19 is pick a video. So when you're feeling directionless and you just don't know what to make, and you feel terrible about it, and just go on YouTube, click on any video. Don't even look to see whose video or who you want to watch or anything like that. Just pick a video and make what that person is making. If they're kind of doing a full journal, or they're doing, you know, a Craft With Me style video where they're doing lots of different things, or they're doing a flip through of a journal, pick one thing out of that journal and make that. Just don't give yourself time to think about it, just do it. And again, that kind of resonates with quite a few of the ones that we had above, like challenge yourself, all of those. But it is just another way to do those, okay? So number 20, last but not least, is to take an old book and just do stuff in it and do stuff to it. So it is, I will actually show you mine shortly. You can make pockets out of the pages. You can collage on it, you can stamp on it, you can paint on it, do whatever takes your fancy in that moment. Just take a book and just do something with it. Okay, so that is my 20 ways to kickstart your mojo, guys. I hope that you will have found something in there for yourself to kind of help you. And don't forget that sometimes the best thing you can do is just to walk away from the craft room for a little while. Okay, so I will get a few bits and pieces to show you guys. I'll show you all the things that I've been making on the video while I've been talking, and one or two other things as well. I'll be back in one moment. Okay, so while I was talking to you guys there, I was going through a few of the different processes that I like to do when I'm not feeling it. When my mojo is low and I just have no idea where to start or what I want to do, and I don't want to face the project that I'm in the middle of, things like that. These are the kind of things that I will do. Okay, now there are also some things in here that weren't on the video that I just want to show you guys. Okay, so this is what I've done just, you know, for the few minutes that I was talking to you, and it's lots. So these things are very simple. There's nothing earth-shattering or fantastically amazing, but let's have a look and see what I did. So I have some little clusters. Let me take these out of the way and we'll bring them in one by one. Okay, so we have little clusters. These took me all of about 2 minutes to do, I think, maybe 5 minutes, sorting the fabric and things like that. They're all different colours, different size. Well, they're kind of all size-ish the same, I guess. That's just what I was feeling today. And that's kind of, you know, what you want to do. Go what you're feeling, okay? So, very pretty clusters. They're not finished. I just have the fabrics and things like that put together. When I come to use these in a journal, I will most likely add something on top, and I would probably either glue them or sew them together. They're just held with a staple right now, keeping it simple, because that's what I do when I'm like that. I just want to keep it simple. So, all those together. I have 6 fabulous clusters ready to go. Then I did some, these aren't in the order I did them in the video either, guys, just so you know. So I had a strip of, I think it was actually a strip of faux washi from the Fall Friends journal kit. And I just took out my punches and cut some pieces out. And they will look lovely as embellishments in other journals. So simple and yet so productive and so satisfying, really. I love punching things anyway, so that's those. Then I did, there's some more punches there, and I do that quite a lot. I'll show you my little box here. I have a whole load of circles here that I just punch out of things when I have pieces left over. Some of them are white cards, some of them aren't, you know, so I use them for closures on envelopes quite a lot. I like using them for that. There's some little hearts in here as well that I've punched out of different bits and pieces, you know, and little flowers, things like that. So that's one of the things that I kind of do. I take my scraps and I will punch things. That's that. Then I did some fussy cutting. So I have some wonderful butterflies to go in my journals. No thinking about it, just do it. And it's so satisfying to see the bundle afterwards as well. That's another thing about doing these. It's very satisfying to do the ones where you're being productive but not thinking, because you have a final, you know, a product at the end of it almost. So that's those. Then I took some strips of book page. You know those white bits that we cut off? I have quite a few of those. There should be more of those there. I don't know where they're gone to. They're around somewhere. But I took some of those and I just stamped some words on them. And now I have lovely little words to be used in my journals. And you can get kind of creative with that as well, with the words that you're using. Put a little tiny little butterfly stamp at the end as well, or, you know, something like that if you have those. So that's those. Then I took some paper. Now this one isn't on the video, but I did want to show you. Again, we're talking strips of paper. And I literally just didn't even think about this, just took what strips I had over to the sewing machine and sewed them all together. I don't know what I'll use this for, probably down the side of a page or something like that. May add things on top, I may not, I don't know, but I had fun doing this because I like to sew anyway on my sewing machine, and it feels very satisfying to have this roll of stitched papers. That's another one. There you go. You could do that with fabrics as well. Then we have these ones. Oh yes. Now, Jenny Ann from Jen's Crafty Creations, I think it is. I will link her YouTube channel below. Did these burrito pockets. She showed them on Facebook recently, and I was fascinated. They're so simple. I've never actually made one. I've made something similar, but not these. And this is what I came up with, those two. And I just had, there's only just a couple of little bits added onto them, and they look stunning, and they were so simple and so satisfying to make. Really very little thought required there. Now this one was actually supposed to be one of those as well, but I ended up turning it into an envelope. And I haven't glued it because, you know, that's another thing you can do. Just make up envelopes like this. Don't glue them down or anything till you figure out where you want to use them. But the shape is made up and ready to go for you to pick through and put them into your journals. Okay, so that's that one. Now I did want to show you a perfect example of this. So when I took out these 2 sheets of paper, these 2 sheets of paper came from a 6x6 pack that I have. I have quite a few of them and I've had them for a long time. Pull them out every now and again. So I thought it would be perfect to use for these burrito pockets because you needed a square piece. So I took the 2 out. Love the 2 of them. And as I was working on this one, I thought to myself that would actually be perfect to go with my Echoes of Ireland Irish kit that I brought out last year. Now, it is St. Patrick's Day is coming up, so I'm obviously thinking about that and stuff as well. But I didn't have that in mind when I picked out this piece of paper. So it just goes to show that when you're doing these things, the ideas can come. Like, look at how perfect this works with the colours in this kit. It is just perfect. Oh yes, on that page. I love it. Isn't that stunning? And that will look amazing. And that was just because I sat down, just happened to pull out this particular piece of paper, and it works so well in there. I think it would probably work on all the rest of the pages. Yeah, that would be good. And it didn't look green when I pulled it out first, but putting it against the green, it works so well. So there must be a tone of green in there. It works really well with this kit, and I'm so chuffed that I actually sat down to do this video today and came up with this piece of paper, because I will definitely be using that in my Irish journal. I didn't get to play with this kit as much as I would have liked last year, so I'm hoping to get to play with it this year. So yeah, so if you're looking for a kit for your St. Patrick's Day, there you go. Echoes of Ireland. It's on my Etsy shop. It will be linked in the comments below. Okay, so that is that. And the next thing I did, I took this is the inside of a security envelope, and it's not very apparent there. Let me see if I take these and put it down here. Can you see? Might be better to do it on this side. Yeah, again, this will actually go with my green theme, and I wasn't thinking about that either. So I just made a page border. I won't cut that until I'm ready to put it on a page, and then I will just slice off that piece. So just take out your border punches and punch some borders like that you'll have ready to go into your journals. Okay. All very simple ideas, but you will end up with a fantastic stash at the end of it all. Okay, so this is my colouring book that I work in at the moment. I don't like colour all the time, but every now and again, when my Mojo is low, I do pull this out and just colour in it, you know. There are very few actually finished in this one. So that one is finished. Love that. And there's one more back here that is finished. There you go. That's another one that's finished. Okay, so again, something that I do when my Mojo has deserted me. And I don't colour these with the intention that, oh, I'm going to use this in a junk journal. I just grab my colours and I colour. You know, I mean, there's no way I'd ever use this in a junk journal. And I used markers on this. I used colouring pencils on this one. And there's actually some pen in there as well, gel pens. And I think on the other one, yeah, I actually used some crayon as well and did a resist on the outside. I used my jelly roll, my white jelly roll. I used pens and I used colouring. So I have fun with it, even though it's not something that I would normally kind of probably use in my junk journals. This one could possibly get used in a junk journal at some point. I don't know. But it's possible I would use those colours in a junk journal. These ones, not so much. So that's that. Colouring books. Now, I'm going to do this one next because I need it off my desk. It's too big. Okay, so this is just an encyclopedia. Okay, now, I got this idea on YouTube. I have no idea who it was, so I do apologise. I can't give the credit to who it's due to. But all it is, I have stuck in some tissue paper, okay, like so, and stamped on it. And I've just kind of gone through and done that on a few pages. I only have a few done. Some of my inks don't work so well on this, and I'm learning that as I go. And what this is for, I can then come along and tear out my stamped image and get my glue. Now this is a matte one, which this is actually the whole reason I got this matte one, to be honest. But you could do it with a glue stick even. You just put on our glue down here, get it into place, a little bit of glue over the top, and because it's a matte glue that I'm using, that will dry matte and it won't be very obvious. So it allows you to put a stamped image on your page without it bleeding through to the other side. And you have your stamped images all ready to go in that book. So that is one of the things that I do sometimes. When my Mojo is running out, I'll just grab my stamps and I'll stamp away on my tissue book. Now, it doesn't have to be a tissue book. You could just do that in a book as well, a regular book, or you could do it on plain paper, tea-dyed paper, just to have them ready to go. Okay? Okay, so next we have an actual page that I will put into a junk journal, and I've just done the edge of it. I just took out my punch and I shaped the edge. So get out your dies, get out your punches, and edge some pages, and you'll have pretty pages for your journals. Again, very simple, but getting some crafting kind of chores done, I guess, and making fodder for your stash. It's not scraps that you're making actual things for your stash, but they're very simple, and you will be very grateful that you have them when you go to make a journal, when your mojo's back. Okay, so next up we have, now I'm going to do my books next actually. Okay, so I have 2 books here, and one of them is just full of pockets. Pockets, all the ways through, okay? And what I will do when I want to use these, I will just pull the whole lot. I have them glued to a backing page. I'll pull the whole lot of those pages out and just glue them down into my journal, okay? And the whole lot has been done. Some of them I haven't glued because I think, oh, I might put some decorative paper on these before I put them down. So I'll leave them like that until I come to use them. Then I can decorate them whatever way I want, glue the edges, and Bob's your uncle. Okay, so just fold some pockets. I find this very therapeutic. Okay, so that is one idea to do with a book. And the next book, this is a bit of a hodgepodge and I love it. Obviously I took the cover off to use it for something else. It looks janky and messy and all the rest of that. I love that because what I want to do in here is just stuff. There is no rhyme, no reason. I just wanted to stamp, so I stamped. I had a fascination at one point about black and white. I was using a white Posca pen with black ink. So I did quite a few of those in here. These are die cuts that I used. Stamping. Some more of that white and black. And the white and black on yellowed book page in particular was what it was interesting me. But I have other stuff done in here. These are inks, and I just stuck down this is there's actually also a piece of like embossed deli paper there. I don't know if you can pick that up in the camera. And a sentiment. Then we have tea bags. I wanted to play with some tea bags and just see what they look like with the book page underneath. Just slapped some things down there. This is a black and white image from an encyclopedia. I had a stamp on the page already, just stuck that down. And these things, they please my eye, or they please my creative sense at the time. And these are things that I will possibly use in my journals. You know, I just stamped on a page. I might rip that out and use it somewhere. This is an actual water slide decal. And I have another one of those in here somewhere as well. And I just wanted to put it in here. For whatever reason, I did some texture paste on this as well. Love it. And I love flipping through this, and there are some things in here that give me ideas and things like that. Milady, she's very pretty. I'm actually proud of that. It's not terribly good, I know, but I'm proud of it. Okay, so we have more inks and stamps and paints and just little bits stuck down. Kind of, you know, collage started. Just a dress. Just because it was in my stash, I don't know. But start of a collage, lots and lots of things in here, and I will often just pull this out and have a little play. Just slap some paint on a page, or just slap some paper down, or inks, or whatever takes your fancy at the time. And because it's an old book, and because it's not particularly fancy, or there's nothing fantastic about it. Oh yes, I did some rubbings as well. I've forgotten about that. See, now ideas. See, my mojo's going. But yeah, because it's an old book and there's nothing special about it, it's very freeing. You can do whatever you want in it. And a lot of the time I'm using scraps as well, so they don't bother me, you know. Now there's some things like this isn't a scrap, I would have totally, but I have a few of them, so it didn't bother me. This page, I hate it. I did that on the video today. I just pulled out some of those circles and said, let's see what they look like all clustered together. I hate it, but that's okay. It's in my scrappy book. It doesn't matter. Probably the only page in here I can say that I actually hate. This isn't fantastic either. This print is, it was a misprint, so it doesn't look fantastic, but it's fine. I like the other two pieces. So there is that, my janky book, and I love it. So that's two ideas to use old books. Or actually it's a multitude of ideas really when you think about it. You can paint, have one just for paints, have one just for inks, have one just for stamping, whatever you feel you want to do, as long as it helps. Okay, so the last few pieces, I will do those last. These ones, I took a 12 by 12 scrapbook paper and I did stuff to it. I love doing this. Now Caroline actually from Kaj Crafts had a fantastic video on using up your 12 by 12s during the week as well. So do be sure to go and check that out. This is my version of using up my 12 by 12s that I don't really like. So on this page, the back of it isn't so bad, it's okay. I probably wouldn't use it anyway. But on the other side, it had pictures of vegetables, and they were in really bright colours. And there's nothing wrong with it. There was nothing wrong with it, but I could never see myself using vegetables in a junk journal for any reason. So maybe a farm journal, but that's not in my head as something that I want to do at the moment. So the paper has been sitting there for 3-4 years. So I decided I would use that one today. So I put some gesso down. I messed around with some inks. I did some stamping. I messed around with some more inks, and then I did one of my favourite things to do, which is heat embossing. I absolutely love heat embossing. And there is another top tip, one that I didn't include in the list because it should be obvious, I guess, maybe not. Go in and play with the things that you love the most. So I have this book with these pages in as well. It's a Dublin directory. I've shown it on my channel before. It's a directory of Dublin from 1936, I think it is. Paper in it, look at the foxing on the edges. Isn't that just stunning? Now it is extremely brittle and it just flakes and tears, but I adore this stuff. So I used some of this today as well, and it was on the front of this burrito pocket. This is from that book, and it's got Dublin in it. It's going into my Irish journal. So I'd obviously made the association at that point when it got to the point of putting the paper down. So yeah, love it. Look, I love how it looks, and it's so smooth and so thin and crinkly. I love it. So yeah, play with the stuff that you love. So that is one of my big loves, and another one is heat embossing. So I did a full sheet of 12 by 12. Heat embossed all over the place, and they came out fabulous, if I do say so myself. I love them. Some of them came out better than others. That's the same with any kind of one of these sheets that you make and cut up. It's kind of like a masterboard, I guess, isn't it? So yeah, there's those. I got some tags. Not sure what that will get used as. Not sure what these will get used as. Possibly pockets at the bottom of the page. But I love them. Okay. And looking at those now, and I didn't realise that until now, but they will work extremely well in my Irish journal as well. They go so perfectly with that kit. Ha! Awesome. So then I went and I made a masterboard, just a tonal masterboard, just book pages on top of another book page. And I cut it and made it into an envelope. So simple. So simple. And yeah, you might say, oh, it's a lot of work to get just one envelope. You don't have to make an envelope out of it. You can make all those other things that I've made with the other one. You can make tags and journal cards and belly bands and side tucks and all the rest of that. But this one screamed to me that it wanted to be an envelope for some reason, so I made an envelope. A nice large one too. So that's great. I have lots and lots of stuff in my stash now. It's awesome. And then last but not least, I went playing with watercolours and brushes. Okay, now I am not a watercolourist. So this is really just play. I do like to pull them out and play with them every now and again and see what happens. So I had those two, and I just went in with a stamp afterwards and stamped on them. I think they look fabulous. They need a lot more dressing up and all the rest of that. Obviously, they need more on them, but I think they look fab. So I had a lot of fun with that. And then these are my... I want to say my favourites, but there's so much that I did today that I really love. It's kind of hard to pick. So these came from some watercolour card. I just used my brushes on it, played with the brushes. I used two different kind of methods for playing with them. The same with the watercolours. I was kind of experimenting a little. That's actually another thing you can do, is experiment. Experimentation is fantastic for getting your mojo back. I don't know why that didn't make the list. I just didn't think of it, I guess. So you're getting a bonus. So yeah, I put down some brushes. Then I did this technique with the paper. again, I saw this on YouTube. I have no idea who it was. I saw it a long time ago and I hadn't had a chance to try it. So what you do, you get your glue stick, you just put a little bit down, stick some paper to it, get a larger piece of paper than the area that has the glue on, put it down, leave it to dry completely, and then come back and rip it off, and you get these lovely little pieces that look like they're part of the piece itself. There's another one there, and they've kind of all gotten hidden on this one. But they are there. There's one there just below the beak. Okay, so I used that technique, had loads of fun using that, and again, that's another thing. I mean, there's so much that you can do to help your mojo get started. Try a new technique, something that you've been wanting to try for a while. Try it out, and that will get your motor running as well. Okay, so I did that. Then I did some splattering with forest moss first, and then I did 2 different colours of gold using my new gold paints. Okay, so I had to get them for you because I could not pronounce this. It's Gensai Tembi starry colours. Get them on Amazon. I think it was €10. They're around abouts. They're from Kuretake. Yeah, so they were about €10. So I got to play with some new tools and things today, which was our supplies really, I guess. So that was pretty awesome as well, and they look so pretty, so pretty. And then I chose some birds. For some reason I was feeling very tropical today. It might have been the colours that I used, I don't know. So I chose some birds and put those down. Now I haven't finished these, they're not completely finished. I do want to put a sentiment or something on them, but I'm going to leave that for another day. But I think they might be my favourites. I think they might be. This kind of looks like there's a window here, so it looks like the bird is outside the window. And that wasn't designed to be like that, it just came out like that. So yeah, love, love, love those. So guys, those things that I was telling you to do to jumpstart your mojo don't only perform the function of jumpstarting your mojo, but you will have a lot of fun doing them. I did a lot of the things today that were on that list. I fussy cut, I punched and stamped and played and experimented and all the rest of it, and it was really, really good fun. I had so much fun making this video. I want to say thank you to Rachel for having me again on this collaboration. I'm so chuffed to have been, I think I've been in every one of them so far. Yeah, and I wouldn't miss one because I love doing them, and I love the interaction, the feedback from you guys. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the video today, guys. I hope it will be helpful for you if you do ever find yourself in the situation of losing your mojo. And maybe you got some new techniques and things as well. Okay, don't forget to go and check all the other videos out. Keep supporting the girls who are coming up after me. Absolutely amazing crafters already gone and coming up. So yeah, you don't want to miss out. And again, thank you so much to Rachel for doing these collaborations. They have been just amazing from day one. So that is it for me for today, guys. 20 tips, tricks and hacks to kickstart your mojo. I will talk to you all very, very soon in the next video. Bye-bye.